Views expressed by Casters Guild members are only the opinions of that member, and that could change from day to day. Guild members may use mature language, but that in no way means they are mature. Listener discretion is advised.
When you get isekai'd into an unfamiliar world and God gives you a free cell phone upgrade, you may want to take a minute to figure out what's going on. But there's no time for that. A garlic merchant wants to take over the world, and to stop him, you're going to have to catch them all. And that's the spell we're casting tonight on Casters Guild. Thank you for tuning in to tonight's episode of Casters Guild. I'm your guild master and Lavender Town gym leader, Rick Perry.
And I am your guild master, Baron. I was actually the prototype starter to the original Pokemon game, Kane.
And joining us tonight is a new guild member. Feel free to introduce yourself.
Hi, my name is Alex. I'm a first-time listener, first-time caller.
It's nice to have you.
Why is it taking so long for someone to say that?
Yeah, that is. You'd think 3 seasons in, and that's the first time we're hearing that one.
Nice.
All right, and you know what? Since the conversation is Pokemon, we started it this way last time. But Alex, we didn't get to hear your answer because you weren't on for that episode. What is your favorite Pokemon?
So, I know it's hard to pick a favorite, right? Because there's over 900. So, I mean, to be honest with you, I have to go with the Ghastly Trio. And the reason why I say that is because in the anime, Haunter was a complete dick.
Yeah.
He was such an asshole to Ash, and I absolutely loved every minute of it.
Yeah, he had real Loki energy
Yes,
in the original series.
100%. But yeah, the Ghastly Trio has always been my favorite. It's my go-to.
Baron, has the answer changed for you at all?
Was it originally Haunter?
I don't remember.
Yeah, I think it was originally Haunter. Haunter's always been my favorite. Since the first time I even played Pokemon, he was my favorite. So yeah, his character design, his powers, then he comes out in the cartoon, his attitude, it's great. I love it.
I'm pretty sure my answer last time was Duskull, and that's not going to change. As a matter of fact, I'm thinking about getting a Duskull tattoo here pretty soon. My wife and I were talking about the fact that we both have plenty of tattoos and we've never gotten a matching tattoo. So we're thinking about getting our own fake Pokemon mystery dungeon team tattooed on us, with me represented by Duskull and her represented by either Shaman or the Corgi one from Sword and Shield. I forget what his name is. So yeah, I might be getting that tattoo not too long from now. But I gotta say, that new Pokemon trailer came out for Scarlet and Violet, and Fuecoco is looking like he might be one of my new dudes. I love a good chili pepper dinosaur, man. So speaking of that new trailer, I know we talked about it a little bit in the upcoming episode we did last week. Alex, did you see the trailer for Scarlet and Violet?
Oh, 100%. I'm looking forward to the 4-player co-op they're going to have going on.
Did you see all 5 hours of it?
All 5 hours of it, man. I saw like 2 minutes of what you talking about.
Baron thought the trailer was a little long. Which, yeah, I mean, compared to a lot of the other trailers we watched that day, I mean, the Pokemon trailer seemed like it was like 3 or 4 trailers kind of glued together, because they just had a lot of stuff to show us, which, I mean, it's all more to be excited about.
Yeah, that's true.
But yeah, 4-person co-op should be pretty cool.
Does it ever feel like in their trailers they show us a whole lot, but it's like a whole lot of really nothing? Like, we don't ever really get like a lot of gameplay going on.
Yeah, I mean,
it's like, oh, you're running off over here. Now we're running off over there.
They're showing us a lot of stuff that it's all stuff we're expecting. They're just showing us what it looks like in this game. They're like, oh, you're going to go to towns. Yep, like we do in every game. Oh, you're going to battle at gyms, but this is what the gyms look like in this game. It's like, yep, we figured that, but thanks. This is what the legendaries are going to look like, and it's like, we knew there were going to be legendaries. But I will say, a couple things from this trailer that I was not expecting is you've got the 2 different professors. Yeah. Which I was not expecting this. We were talking about this trailer during our upcoming episode, or coming soon episode. And then right after that, that trailer kind of exploded all over the internet, and people are getting real thirsty for those two new professors. Which I've now seen the full models for both, and I think it pretty much confirms my theory that it's supposed to represent past and future, kind of, because seeing the female professor's entire outfit, she's got like she looks like cave woman, her outfit, and like the male's looks like a
futuristic
Tron style motorcycle wetsuit.
Yeah, like one's very primal and one's very futuristic.
Yeah, I don't know if they'll actually do any kind of time travel in it, but maybe they're trying to keep that a secret.
Primal would have been a good Pokemon type.
Yes, it would, especially with a lot of the Pokemon that exist now. I mean, when Fairy and Dark became types, they went back and retconned a bunch of Pokemon, and they were like, oh, Clefairy isn't just a normal type now, it's a Fairy type. And there'd be a lot of Pokemon, I think, if you were to make Primal a Pokemon type. There's a lot of Pokemon that would fit that.
Also, I'm pretty sure I'm going to go with the futuristic professor, considering his shield, his crest, as it were, is a bunch of grapes.
Yeah.
I'm in.
That, and I mean, like, if it comes down to Scarlet and Violet, you were going to pick Violet anyway. Purple being, like, your favorite color, so. My wife is the same. Like, Violet, purple's her favorite color, so I'm probably going to end up getting Scarlet so she can play Violet.
What do y'all think about the new legendaries? Like, what do you think about their design?
I mean, I don't want to be too negative, right? Anytime I talk about new Pokemon designs, like, I feel like that old guy who's like, they haven't been good since Gen 1. But yeah, I don't know.
They haven't.
They look a little over-designed, honestly. Like, they look like motorcycle jets, but one of them looks like a futuristic motorcycle jet, and the other one looks like when they made Link a motorcycle for not Link to the Past, for Breath of the Wild, and they made it look like ancient technology. Like, that's what the other one looks like. It looks like an ancient motorcycle. So you got an ancient motorcycle and a futuristic jet motorcycle, but they're also dragons, which makes me think they are ripped right out of Yu-Gi-Oh! GX. But I don't know. I mean, hopefully they'll be cool. I mean, we'll see what the typing's like. I'm imagining they're probably fire and electric, probably both dragons, which dragon is a little overpowered as a type anyway. But we'll see.
I'm kind of curious to see as to what they're going to be, I guess, like the legendaries of, because I feel like we're running out of stuff at this point.
Yeah. Well, I think it's going to be past and future, right? I mean, like, we've had Celebi, who is like all about time travel, but not actually specifically past and future, right? So I think that's what it comes down to, is past and future.
I think there's a bit of a problem with that, because, like, I'm even kind of, like, looking at, I guess they could have done that. But, like, they're showing the city where these shields are, the crests, and they're both in the same city.
Yeah.
So, like, are we thinking that we're starting out in, like, a modern city, and then we kind of dip into the future and dip into the past, or...
See, this is where I'm not sure. I'm not sure they'll be actual time travel, because they've done time travel in a lot of other Pokemon games. Like, Black and White has time travel. Obviously, Pokemon Arceus has time travel.
Oh my god, time would be a good fucking Pokemon type, too.
Right. So I think it might be about the study of the past and the future. Like, maybe they're really into like museums and stuff like that. And this museum is all about, this professor is all about researching the past, right? They're like an archaeologist, and they dig up dinosaur bones and fossils and things like that. And this Pokemon professor is all about researching things for the future, like advancements in technology, and maybe there'll be a contention there. Like, one's all about sacrificing tradition on the altar of progress, and the other one is like, well, you can't leave our past in the dust. Like, you have to look to it and revere it. And I don't know, but I think there's a few different ways they could go with it. They could do some time travel, some past and some future, or they could just be kind of obsessed with the past and the future.
I know this is probably going to sound like really kind of out there, but what if the one for Violet is like a futuristic clone of the one from Scarlet.
I mean, that would
Or
kind of make
maybe-
sense. Like if so the old
Like
you have a
Godzilla,
fossil.
Mechagodzilla kind of deal.
Yeah, you have a fossil, right? And the professor from Scarlet like just resurrects the fossil because they've been doing that since Gen 1.
Right.
But the new professor was like, "Oh, we can make this Pokemon better." And when they
Right.
resurrect the fossil, they like add a bunch of technology and stuff like that. Being that Pokemon are practically digitized anyway when they're added to the PC or put in Pokeballs. So if they're digitized anyway, what's to stop some new professor from inventing some new technology where he can change their code and just kind of upgrades, in his eyes, the old legendary?
I mean, because essentially, isn't that kind of like what Porygon is?
Yeah,
Whenever
pretty
you
much.
evolve a Porygon, you upgrade him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you had to trade him with a held upgrade, so yeah. Except in this case, it wouldn't be an evolution. It'd be more like, I think that's the contention here, is it's probably
Yeah.
like, this one's like, oh, it was fine the way it is. You didn't have to change it. And the guy's like, oh, no, I made it better. And then like the girl's like, no, you didn't. You made it worse. And then conflict. Because I didn't see any teams in the trailers, which they could be saving that. There's no like Team Galactic or Team Plasma or whoever it would be. So instead of the two teams like headbutting like Magma and Aqua did, or, you know, all those other teams, maybe it's the two professors and like their ideologies that have the clash here.
Yeah, because that would be really neat to see is two professors that are supposed to be the good guys, essentially, kind of going at it this time.
Mm-hmm.
But now, are you
Okay.
kind of hoping that the gameplay from Pokemon Legends is going to transfer over, like how they did the Pokédex, for example?
So I'm hoping it looked like they've learned some lessons from Pokemon Legends Arceus, but like they're definitely still going back to the classic gameplay. Like to catch a Pokemon, you're still going to have to get in battle and do all that thing. I don't think they're going to have you just like throwing balls at Pokemon just like you did in Arceus. But hopefully they I mean, I think the Pokedex is a good idea, where you can fill out the Pokedex by actually researching the Pokemon instead of just catching one.
Right.
That could be cool. I don't know. It's one of those things where I don't want to get my hopes up too much, because Legends Arceus was great, and I think it's the breath of fresh air that Pokemon needed. But Pokemon, they do that. They'll come out with a game and it'll be better than the original games, and then they'll go right back to that original formula. So I'm not getting my hopes up that they learned too many lessons from Legends Arceus, but hopefully they did.
I just want to say, Rick, there for a split second, I've never been more interested in Pokemon in my life.
I mean, you can tell just from the trailer, and the trailer, they're always putting their best foot forward, and the graphics even in the trailer were like, why does this look like a 5-year-old game? It's my standard complaint about Pokemon, is that they are the number one media selling franchise in the world, and yet they can't put some money into making their games look halfway decent. I don't get it.
Yeah, I mean, I'll say that as long as the gameplay is good, well, you've seen some of the games I play.
Yeah.
And, I still play Minecraft.
Yeah.
I played, I really loved 7 Days to Die, even when it didn't have great, I still don't even think it has great graphics, but it's good gameplay. And so as long as they come out with some good gameplay, maybe some new stuff, I think that's the problem. I think my biggest problem with Pokemon is they don't do anything to change gameplay,
Right.
Or how it's done. They'll add 700 more Pokemon,
Mm-hmm.
but we still got to catch them the same way.
Yep.
So
The same rock, paper, scissors typing, the same, here's 8 towns, go get 8 badges, fight the 4 Elite 4 members, beat the champion, rinse, repeat. Maybe there's an end game. There's usually an end game now in Pokemon, and that's usually where it's a little bit different. Like, after you beat the champion and the credits roll, now you go, and there's like another story past that, which started with the second generation, so it's not even a new thing. So, I mean, hopefully the post-game will be interesting. But up until that point, it'll be the same old Try to catch them all, try to fill out the Pokedex, get 8 badges, become the Pokemon champion.
Pretty much.
But, I mean, like Alex kind of already pointed out, the big change will be that 4-player co-op. Like, co-op has never been a thing before. And it has me considering buying my wife a Switch. That way we can play together.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Yeah, I mean, everything I've read, it said that it's open world 4-player co-op, so it's not going to be like, Sword and Shield where you went and did like the raid dens and that kind of stuff. Like,
Or
you're
like
going to be
with,
out there.
Let's Go Eevee and Let's Go Pikachu, where they technically had a co-op, but like your co-op partner was like stuck to your side and was using your Pokemon. Which, don't get me wrong, I still had fun with. My wife and I still played that game, and it was like still cool that we could play Pokemon game together. But it just could have been better. And hopefully that's what we're looking at with Scarlet and Violet.
You think we'll get a sequel to Legends?
I would think, at this point, I feel like they'd just be dumb not to. I mean, Legends did so well, and people were talking about it for so long, and they can do it with so many other themes, right? Like, they had Pokemon Legends Arceus, and that was kind of like an isekai version of Generation 4. So they could just pick a different generation. They could do Gen 2 and be like, Pokemon Legends Celebi. And just kind of pick a different region. You know what I mean? Like, obviously, Hisui, or the Hisuian region, is the region that eventually becomes the region in Generation 4. So just make it the region that eventually becomes Johto or eventually becomes Kanto. Especially if they do Gen 2, because Gen 2, Johto is just, well, both Kanto and Johto are just Japan. So if they were to do, the past on that, you've got like samurai and ninja and, that whole culture that you can kind of dive into when somebody gets isekai'd into the past. And you can do a lot of stuff with Celebi. Like, you can make it completely different, because with Arceus, the guy fell through like a time distortion, but Celebi can time travel. Like, Celebi could just go pick somebody up and pull them into the past. You don't need a distortion. So, I mean, it would just be kind of dumb for them not to do it at this point. Did you get a chance to play Arceus at all, Baron?
I have not. Just had a lot of stuff going on.
Sure.
Haven't really had a chance to get into it. It is definitely still on my list to get in there because I like Pokemon. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. But out of all the Pokemon games, this one has interested me the most because of the whole open worldness of it. But I know the Spawn has played it, and she's enjoyed it quite a bit.
Yeah. I've loved it so far. I mean, like, I still have a little bit more to do in the game because I haven't completed the decks yet. I haven't even caught Arceus yet. My wife did. She's a completionist, though, at heart. Like, any game she plays, she's got 100% it. That's just who she is. And she caught Arceus. But, like, some of the tasks toward the end when you're trying to, like, catch and train and research some of these Pokemon, it's real tedious, man.
Yeah, I will get kind of bored with games that... I don't know. I don't know if it's just me getting older, because, when I was younger, I could play Final Fantasy, stay in one little part of the board and level up until I was like level 50 and then just be like, okay, good to go. Now it's like, oh, I have to grind for 15 minutes. Of course I say that, but then, I'm also, I dig in Minecraft.
Yeah.
Like, that's what I do. I dig. I do that in 7 Days to Die. I dig. And it can be monotonous, but I mean, I guess you get kind of feelings of accomplishment. I don't know. It's weird. I just don't like the grind anymore.
Yeah. That might be us getting older, because, I mean, I'm kind of the same way. But it also could just be the world we live in nowadays, because when we were kids, sitting there and playing Final Fantasy for, like, 5 hours and grinding in the same area was probably the most fun thing you could do. We didn't have the internet and, like, cell phones with, like, new distractions every 5 seconds. And we've kind of trained ourselves to not sit there. And at this point, I think us being older does kind of factor into it some, because the only thing we do where we sit and do the same thing for hours is, like, our job. Right. It's work. So if you do that on a video game, it can start to feel like work, and that's not why I'm gaming. I'm gaming to get away from work.
Right, that's very true. Yeah, that could be it.
Yeah, I gotta say at one point, and I can't remember which Pokemon it was, but the only way to really work on its Pokedex was you had to catch it, and you could only catch it out of a tree that was shaking.
Oh, the Cherrim.
Yes,
Mm-hmm.
that was a nightmare.
And there was like
hated
2
it.
trees in the entire world that had like a 1 in 8 chance of spawning one. Yeah.
I freaking hated that little scumbag. I will never complete its Pokédex because I'm not going to put the time into it. I just wanted to get enough to where like it gave you the check marks.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'll never perfect it. It will never happen. I don't have the time to hunt that sucker down. But it was the biggest pain in my ass.
Now every Pokemon, once I get it to 10 points, I'm going to call that done. And with Cherrim,
100%.
You catch it twice and evolve it twice, and you're pretty much at 10 points. So, like, I was like,
Yes.
okay, we're good. Yeah, I'm definitely not going to be... I have a friend who, like, posted a picture where he, like, 100%ed the entire Pokedex, and I was like, you're a madman.
Yeah, because there was that one. There was another one where you had to take a certain amount of damage to get its...
Yeah, Basculin.
Was it Basculin?
Yeah, you have to, in order to evolve Basculin into Basculegion, and so it's one of his dex entries, you have to take like 300 points of recoil damage, I think it is.
Yeah.
Where basically you have to do either double edge or wave crash, where you do damage and then you take damage back. Which there's a trick to that. If you haven't done it yet, I can fill you in.
Oh, I got it. My biggest part was just not killing myself.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I guess this is a good indication of Pokemon trying new things and stuff, but it's still kind of like, I don't know. Making things harder to me doesn't make things more interesting.
I don't mind it because it's all optional. Like, all this stuff that we're talking about that's, like, super hard, none of it is required to beat the game.
Is there any other way to get that Pokemon?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Besides trading?
Yes.
Okay.
As a matter of fact, they give you one.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
And I'll say, like, 90% of the rest of the Pokédex, I mean, you can easily hammer it out.
Yeah.
There's just, like, those one or two, like the ones we talked about, that were just a pain in the ass.
Also,
But the rest of them, you can hammer them out.
the only reason you need to catch every Pokemon is 1, just for your own satisfaction, and 2, to catch Arceus. But you beat the game without doing that. Like, you actually go through. So, like, to beat the game, you do not have to get every Pokemon. You don't have to do all the super hard tasks.
Right, but you know, the song isn't gotta beat the game.
Right? That's true.
So, by the way, that song's horrible. Just horrible.
Not a fan?
Not a fan. I hate it.
What don't you like about it, Baron?
It tastes weird when I sing it with my mouth. I don't know. Let's just say there are other songs that trump it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because, yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I like I said, I think it'll be really weird if they don't do a sequel. As soon as they do a sequel, I'm on board. I mean, because Legend Arceus is just really cool. It's what Pokemon should have been doing 15 years ago. Just upgrade your graphics, people. I mean, like, I'm not even, like Baron was saying, I'm not super into graphics. Like, I'm not one of those, like, hardcore, like, a game has to look good. But there's a difference between having stylized graphics, like Minecraft, where it, like, intentionally looks blocky, and, like, you're trying to have good graphics, or you're trying to look like good games, and you're just missing the mark. Like, if your 3D models still have pixelated edges in 2022, what are you doing? And a lot of people have been like, oh, well, it's on the Switch. It's inferior hardware. But if you look at Monster Hunter Rise, that game looks fucking beautiful. Like, after Monster Hunter Rise came out, that was made specifically for the Switch, like, Pokemon's got no excuse.
100%. Preach.
You're right.
So, yeah.
The Switch can run better than people give it credit for.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Especially for
like,
what it is. Like, even... It's this small, tiny little thing, the majority of its screen, and yet they still managed to pack the amount of power into it that they packed into it. And even if it were running as bad as people say it is, I'd be like, it's a handheld system. Like, you can't expect too much from it. But it doesn't. It does way better than that. And for that, at that point, for a handheld system, it's like, this thing is a powerhouse. Like, don't sleep on it. Especially the new OLED model.
I mean, when did Breath of the Wild come out?
That was the launch title for Switch. So it's whenever Switch came out.
Gorgeous game.
Mm-hmm.
And Arceus came out maybe 4 years after that, give or take.
Oh, well, the Switch has been... Yeah, because the Switch has been out for 5 years now. So, like, that makes sense. Yeah, about 4 years.
So, I mean, they have the potential to make a gorgeous-looking Pokemon game because the Switch can handle it.
Mm-hmm.
They just won't do it.
No, because they're Pokemon and they know they don't have to. Like,
100%.
One of the reasons they're one of the highest-selling franchises because they know how to keep their profit margins nice and large. They're putting the least amount of money into making it and cashing out. And as long as it's Pokemon, they'll get away with it because me and everybody else will be lining up to buy it anyway.
I will say, I was very impressed by how Legends looked. It looked great. It doesn't look like it's a terrible game by any stretch of the imagination. It looked really good.
It looks really good for like 5 years ago.
Yeah. For a Pokemon game, it looked pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, like, if that's the bar, if the bar is Pokemon game, say it's definitely the best-looking Pokemon game. But, like, there are games that were made for the Wii. Heck, there are games that were made for the GameCube that look better than Legends Arceus. And it's like, why?
Would you say that Pokemon Snap looks better than Legends?
Huh. The new Pokemon... No, definitely not the original. The new Pokemon Snap... I think it does in parts, but I think it's just because they're rendering less. When you don't have to render a whole world, like I feel like they're probably using like the exact same models, and just because they're rendering less, they look better. But yeah, I feel like it's probably the exact same models. Like I feel like it's the exact same assets that they were using in Sword and Shield for the Pokemon, the exact same assets they were using in the Diamond and Pearl remakes, the exact same assets in Legends Arceus. Like, Pokemon straight up admitted that they went ahead and future-proofed the Pokemon series by making a bunch of high-res Pokemon models. For those who aren't seeing this in video, I'm giving finger quotes to both future-proofed and high-res. And they just made a bunch of models for all the Pokemon that exist right now, whether they were going into a game or not. And, like, every time they need a game, they're like, oh, we're already done our models for the Pokemon. And... you could have done that, and it probably would be a good idea if you were trying to come out with a Pokemon game every year, but I feel like they failed at that. Like, the models they made were, like, DS quality, like, and now you're making console-level games, and it's just not fitting that bill, which I think is where making all the other models comes from, like making the trainers and like the worlds. Like I feel like they're having to downgrade the graphics to make it match the models that were already made.
Oh, that's actually a really good point.
Now, do you think that with all the competition that's starting to pop up with like Temtem and Koromon, things like that, that they really need to kind of step up their game a little bit? I mean, Temtem's basically a MMO Pokemon game now.
No, they're Pokemon. They can do whatever they want. I mean, like, there have been... Since Pokemon first started, there was Digimon. You know what I mean? And they had the competitor. And that's as close as a competitor has ever got, is Digimon.
Yeah.
Ever since then, there's been competitors to Pokemon to come out every year. They're like, oh, we're a monster catching game. We've got, like, over 200 monsters. Come check us out. We're just as cool as Pokemon. And fact of the matter is, they probably are. But, no, they're Pokemon. Pokemon doesn't need to do anything to stay on top. They are Pokemon. They're just... I mean, I hate this phrase, but they're too big to fail.
A good example. Hey, Rick, how do you feel about the graphics?
On Pokemon?
Like of the new game coming out.
They don't look great.
Hey, Rick.
At all.
Hey, Rick.
Mm-hmm.
Are you going to buy it?
Heck yeah. Probably on launch day. That's what I'm saying. Pokemon doesn't need to do anything.
Not
Fools
really.
like me are line up to buy it anyway. And now that I've already got hundreds of Pokemon living rent-free in spaces of my mind that will never be able to be used for anything else, the chances of me starting another similar game to learn 100 new creatures and what they can do and that is zero. Like, I'm not going to do it. And there are millions of other people exactly like me who are looking at that same thing. And at the end of the day, Pokemon's still going to scratch that nostalgia itch. You know, when you get to go catch a Charmander or a Pikachu or whatever your favorite Pokemon is, that's something that a competitor for Pokemon will never be able to do. By every measurable metric, Digimon is a better franchise than Pokemon. As far as, like, the work they put into it, the cool things they can do, Digimon should have won that war, but it didn't. And now that Pokemon won, it'll never be dethroned.
Spawn would really appreciate you saying that, by the way.
What, that Digimon should have won?
She went the hell off, and she was like, I don't care what anyone says. Digimon is a better franchise, and you're stupid if you think otherwise.
It is. Digimon is better.
Damn.
If you sit down and watch the TV show, like Pokemon was targeted. When they made Pokemon, it was targeted at 7 to 12-year-old girls. And if you watch the anime, you can tell. As a matter of fact, Pikachu wasn't supposed to be the face of Pokemon. It was supposed to be Clefairy, and they changed it last minute. And now look at Pikachu. Digimon, on the other hand, treats its audience as though they're intelligent, and like the characters of Digimon go through real problems, and it's like I said, it's all around better. And like I would talk about it more, but this is not the Digimon episode. But Pokemon won, and there are people who are a lot more intelligent than me who do like 4-hour-long video essays on YouTube on why Pokemon won. Like the exact circumstances that had to happen for the inferior franchise to win that war. I'm not even going to try to explain it. Go search it yourself. It's fascinating. But yeah, now that they've won, like I said, they're not going to be dethroned. They're the number one media selling franchise in the world. They're not the number one video game. They're not the number one show. They're the number one thing, period. Take take the MCU and Star Wars and all the money they make and put it together. They're not touching Pokemon.
Right. I still like Pokemon.
You're not wrong.
Yeah. I still love it. Don't get me wrong. I mean, like, I can sit here and talk about how the Pokemon company sucks and, like, they don't listen to their fans and they just take advantage of people and make money, but I still got a bunch of Pokemon plushies right behind me right now. You know what I mean? And I still buy the games and I still play them, and I'm still going to just bend over and take it because it's Pokemon. But anyway, I don't think we talked about it too much in the last episode, so a while before Arceus came out, they came out with a new Pokemon Snap, and I've been waiting for a new Pokemon Snap. I would say I've been waiting for a new Pokemon Snap since the original Pokemon Snap. I've been like, oh, this is cool. When are they going to come out with a sequel? But honestly, I started looking for a new Pokemon Snap when the Wii U came out, because I felt like with the dual screen thing the Wii U had going on, where you had like the main screen, which is your TV, and then you had a controller with a screen in the middle of it.
That would have been perfect.
I was like, where is Pokemon Snap? Why is this not a thing?
But they didn't make it.
No, they didn't.
Oh, you were asking yourself that. Okay.
Yeah.
Thought you were asking me. But no, you're right. And I think I was having the same thought as well, because it's weird. It's almost like it could have been its own little AR game, while at the same time not being an AR game.
Yeah.
And really, why wasn't Pokemon Go like a Pokemon Snap AR game?
What do you mean?
Well, like, I get it. They want to add in like a little game mechanic to it, to where, you know, you're catching Pokemon and battling them and everything. But why couldn't they have made like an AR Pokemon Go game just like that, where you walk around town looking in your phone and it's like, oh, there's one, snap, and then you can share pictures and
you
points.
You can do that in Pokemon Go.
On Pokemon Go?
Yeah. I mean, you don't get points for it or anything like that, but like, it's been an AR game from the beginning. Most people turn the AR off because
no.
AR for mobile
I know it's an AR game.
Yeah. And
I played Pokemon Go like when it was that other game where you went and got the nodes and all that stuff. I think the same company did this. Anyways.
And when they added the Pokemon Smeargle, like when you could catch Smeargle, they expanded the camera options to where you can go around and you can take pictures of Pokemon in AR, and like you can even send out Pokemon that you have and like put them in your room and like take pictures of them. In order to catch Smeargle, you actually had to take pictures of Pokemon, because Smeargle would like photobomb one of the pictures you were taking of another Pokemon, and then that's when you would get the chance to catch Smeargle.
How dare you make me want to play this game again?
And they've done that with several Pokemon now, where the only way for you to catch a particular Pokemon is to take pictures of other Pokemon, and then that Pokemon will photobomb you, and you get a chance to catch that Pokemon now.
How dare you?
I feel bad too, because I don't play Pokemon Go anymore. Like,
aren't you
It's
like
been a while since I played it.
I think I'm in kind of like the perfect spot to play it, where, you know, I got like a quaint little downtown and just like easy places to walk. It's not like a really bad, like big bad city. I don't live out in the middle of nowhere.
there's also probably way more stops and gyms than you remember there being last time you logged on to.
They had started to add them just as I stopped playing.
Mm-hmm. And with the research tasks, that's how they pulled me back in, was with the research tasks.
Yeah.
And then I just kind of got burnt out on them eventually. But that's a cool new feature. That's another thing. Pokemon Go came out how long ago?
Before the pandemic?
Yeah, well before the pandemic.
I mean, it was back whenever me and you were working together, Rick, because I remember me and you setting up accessory booths to sell battery packs for it.
Right.
For people playing it.
That was
8 years ago?
2016. 2016. As a matter of fact, it was July 6th, 2016. So like
I was running Howling Wolf when it was out. I completely forgot about that.
Yep. And people are still playing that game.
Religiously.
Uh-huh. As a matter of fact, I think, like, just to add another thing to Pokemon's, bottom line, I think it's the number one highest grossing mobile game right now, too. Like, they pull in millions of dollars off that little mobile game.
Yeah. Jeez. Yeah, because it's not a pay-to-win game.
No.
But it's a pay-to-win game.
It's a pay to play as much as you want.
Well,
because if you run out of like balls and stuff like that, then you got to buy balls and you got to buy this and you got to buy that in order to keep playing.
But what I'm saying is, you don't need to pay money to actually get to a quote unquote end game.
Mm-hmm.
But since the end game is technically, other people,
yep,
who are paying money,
yep,
you do have to pay to win. So
that, and if you don't want to spend years getting to that end game, because people, as soon as they raise the level cap, people spend money and they're like at the new level cap at the end of the day, whereas like you would take months to get to that new level cap if you weren't paying.
Mm-hmm.
Especially if that person is paying and like they can play all day, like they have some sort of situation that lets them actually go out and play all day, whereas like you aren't paying and only have like a half hour a day maybe to play Pokemon Go. Like you're just not going to keep up. So yeah, here's this $20 box that you can buy that'll help you keep up with all the people who are playing all the time, and so you can actually be like the same level as your friends. So here, just spend this $20. Just $20.
$20.
What's $20? I mean, like you spend $60 on these other console games. What's $20?
Well, you get an allowance every week, right? What's $20? You do this once a month. You can do this once a month. $20 a month. That's not bad, is it? That's how they get you, kids.
Mm-hmm. There it is, right there. Microtransactions.
And then you can take those Pokemon and transfer them to the new games.
Mm-hmm.
And that's exactly how... Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was just about to say that's exactly how they got me on Raid Shadow Legends, our sponsor. No,
stop. No. Never.
No.
I shouldn't say never. If they paid us enough, I'd totally...
I'm going to work on that sponsorship and not fucking tell you, and I'm just going to bust right into a whole fucking spiel.
You mean like I did for you in T-Villain?
Yeah. But in this, it's like we have to give them a whole 5 minutes or something like that. I'm going to be talking for 5 minutes. You're going to be like, what the fuck is happening? No. We're sponsored. It's okay. Look, I'm not willing to sell my soul, but I'm willing to sell my soul. Raid Shadow Legends.
Like, I never spent money on Pokemon Go, but
Yeah, me neither.
Google has this thing where it's called Google Rewards, and like if you scan receipts when you go and buy things or you take surveys, that they'll give you Google Play points, and then I would turn around and spend my Google Play points on Pokemon Go.
That's smart.
I completely forgot Google did that.
Yeah. Yeah, and they don't do it as much anymore, especially if you're not in like a smaller demographic. Like, they've already got plenty of 30-year-old white guys. So my opinions and my shopping habits are not as valuable as when I first started doing it. So like, they don't even really send me surveys anymore. But people are still playing it.
I mean, yeah.
I still see cars all the time with the team logos on the back.
That's so fucking funny.
Like, I saw one yesterday. I don't remember the name, but it was the team that was Articuno. I don't remember the name
Mystic.
for it, but
Mystic.
yeah.
Team Mystic.
Yeah, when
It was a big logo on the back glass.
when Pokemon Go was still new, there was almost like gang wars in my hometown.
I killed a couple guys.
Based off of teams, and people were serious about their teams. Oh, buddy.
I was running a game store at the time, and people would come in and be like, "Hey, what team are you?" Like, "What team are you?" And they tell me like, "All right, get out."
This is Mystic House, bitch.
The Mystic House. I said that. It's like people would be in there, be like, "Hey, what team are you on?" Mystic. Good. I actually had people who would see me playing, get the game, and then ask me what team I was on, and then join that team just because they wanted to, make the shop owner happy, kind of thing.
Yeah.
I'm like, God, it's just a game, guys.
You'd see people all the time wearing their team shirts. But, if you want to get a shirt that's cooler than a Pokemon Go team shirt, you can check out T-Villain, which is a t-shirt site where you'll find a killer limited edition t-shirt being sold for $13 for only 24 hours. The following 24 hours will feature a new design, and so on and so forth. They choose the most ingenious designs that reflect everything evil and villainy, as well as works pertaining to anything artistic, pulp style, lowbrow, pop culture, TV, movies, music, video games, comics, etc. All things cool and evil, basically. Check out the link below in the description, bookmark it, check it every day for a new t-shirt, and that's one of the best ways to help out Casters Guild.
I'm wearing one right now.
I'm still waiting on my shipment for my most recent order.
Well, I ordered this a bit ago. The Thunder Girl shirt. It's got Jane Foster Thor on the front, done in a Tank Girl style.
I ordered a black mechanic shirt that says on Wednesdays we wear black.
Nice.
But yeah, so in case it's not obvious, I spent a lot of time playing Pokemon's Arceus. I spent a lot of time playing Pokemon Snap. My wife and I would go back and forth, and we kind of take turns doing runs on Pokemon Snap, which, now that I'm talking about it, Pokemon Snap, honestly, I enjoyed it, but like most other Pokemon games, I did find it a little disappointing. Like, I feel like they did the bare minimum for Pokemon Snap. Like, they could have done a lot more with it to make it more of a full, fleshed-out game. I feel like Pokemon Snap, the original, was better than the new Pokemon Snap, as far as, like, story and, like, things you could do. Like,
I played the Snap. I didn't get very far into it, though. Because I felt like, I don't know, there was just something off about it.
Yeah, that's a good way to describe it. It's just, there's something weird about it, and they want you to do certain tasks and things like that in order to get different pictures of the Pokemon. They're like, oh, you have to be this far away from the Pokemon and throw this ball this way and play this song, and then the Pokemon will do this, and then you get a picture of it. And it just doesn't work like it should. I don't know. It is kind of weird.
We are talking about the original Pokemon Snap, right?
No, that's the new Pokemon Snap.
Okay.
The original, you could do all that stuff and like it would work. Like, you throw the Pester Ball or throw an apple to get its leer, and like that would work. But like in the new one, like you have to do some really off the wall things. It was to the point where, new games come out, right? And there are guides for those games up within like a couple of days that tell you exactly how to 100% those games. It was months after the new Pokemon Snap came out, and I was like looking up guides, and the guides didn't have all the answers. They were like, we're still trying to figure this one out. And it's like months later, and I'm like, that tells you something. I mean, like, there's one thing, being like difficult to figure it out. I like a good puzzle. But when you have an entire online community trying to figure out how to get this one picture for months later after the game, like, there's something wrong.
It was very convoluted.
Yeah. But like it could have been complicated in a good way, and instead it was complicated in a bad way. Like, they could have added more things to it and make the game more in depth. And instead they like kept all the same stuff and just made the way that you had to use them way more complicated, and it just didn't work the way that it should have. Still had fun with the game. Like, as usual, when I nitpick things on this show and like I badmouth things on this show, these are things that I like. And rather than spend 2 hours just saying, oh, it was really good, like, I will find the little things to like nitpick about it. I still enjoyed the game. These are just my small gripes. Pokemon Sword and Shield, on the other hand, I bought a copy of Pokemon Shield thanks to Ryan, and I was gonna kind of rant at him a little bit today when he came on this episode, because he was like, if you haven't played Pokemon since like Gen 2 or 3, Pokemon Sword and Shield is the perfect way to get back into it. Like, they've done a lot of really good stuff. I mean, I started playing that game. I got to like the 7th or 8th gym, and I just kind of stopped. I was like, this doesn't have me anymore. Like, everything is so repetitive, which that's Pokemon. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But when I'm catching the exact same Pokemon over and over again in a game that has over 900 Pokemon now, come on, give me some new Pokemon. Like, when you go to a new area, it should have entirely different Pokemon than the area before it. Not, here's the exact same Pokemon with like 2 new ones. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you only got like a handful.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, now, what did you think about the whole Gigantamax?
I felt like, okay, so I went in really excited about Gigantamax, right? Because I'm like, oh, this is a really cool idea that you can like take your favorite Pokemon and literally make it the star of the show and blow it up real big, and like a bunch of Pokemon have like different Gigantamax forms. And then I started to look into what you need to do to earn some of these Gigantamax forms, and it's like, this is ridiculous. Like, I have to fill out this entire checklist and basically make this Pokemon like my best friend just to even see its Gigantamax form. And I feel like I already put a bunch of work into that Pokemon. I shouldn't have to do 100 more things just to get the Gigantamax form. Like, I feel like if I've already leveled it up and I've been working with it, and like I get it to that gym and I throw it out, it should just take that Gigantamax form if it has one. Like, it shouldn't just be, nope, you just got the big version. You didn't get the Gigantamax version or Dynamax version or whatever you call it. Like, or V Gigantamax, whatever they're calling it. The ones where it's special forms, like Pikachu gets chonky, or Eevee gets extra fluffy, or
Blastoise gets all the cannons.
yeah, like, like the new forms. Like, for example, I'm weird. I'm from Maryland. I happen to really like Krabby and Kingler as Pokemon. I wouldn't say they're one of my favorites. Like, they're probably not even top 10, but I like them a lot. And Kingler has a Gigantamax form where he looks a whole lot cooler after you Gigantamax him. But in order to get his Gigantamax form, you've got to spend like half the game with Kingler, like making him your best fucking friend in the world in order for him to take on the Gigantamax form. And it's like, look, I like Kingler, and this one gym where I need a good water Pokemon, I want to use Kingler, and I want to see his Gigantamax form. I don't want to have to spend half the game with Kingler just to see that form. I should be able to train him for that gym, let him be the star of the show for that gym, because he's going to come in and wreck because he's water Pokemon, and then I want to box him, and I want to do it again with a different Pokemon at the next gym. You know? That's kind of how I feel about it in general.
I don't have any experience with half the shit that you guys were just talking about there. The only one I remember is the from the Sword and Shield. Just that one thing where you can embiggen them with the the wristband.
Yeah, that's what we're talking about.
You were naming off a bunch of other different forms. And
I don't know what they're called. Like, I literally named like
Gotcha.
4 different words because I don't know
so you
exactly
were-
what it's called.
You were naming the same thing, just different words.
Yeah.
Okay, never mind.
Because there's Dynamax, which any Pokemon can Dynamax.
Okay.
Right, and you can make them big. But there are certain Pokemon that if you Dynamax them, and if you've met certain requirements, they will quote-unquote Gigantamax.
Gotcha.
And, like, they'll get a new form when you Dynamax them. Like the chonky Pikachu, like I was talking about. If you have a save file for Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu, you can go to a train station and the guy will give you a Pikachu. And then if you Dynamax that Pikachu, then he'll take on the old form of Pikachu. I don't know if you remember, like, in Gen 1, in the games and in the card game, like, Pikachu used to be fat.
Yeah.
And, like, he looks like that when you Dynamax him. Like, he gets all chunky. And, like, it's cool because it's like, oh, he looks a little different. He gets a different power or whatever. Like, that's cool. Like, if you're gonna Dynamax a Pokemon, that's cool. You could make a reference to something.
Right.
But in order to get, like, for example, with Pikachu, you had to have a save file for a different game, and you had to go and talk to this person and get a specific Pikachu, and then only that Pikachu could do it. And it's like, man, if I like Pikachu, you should just let me get a Pikachu and take him to a gym and Dynamax him and, like, maybe even make a choice. Like, oh, do you want a Gigantamax? Yes. Do it. I don't know.
Which one do you think was better, the Mega Evolutions or the Dynamax stuff?
I feel like Mega Evolutions were cool, but I never played any of the games that have Mega Evolutions in it, so I feel like I can't even give a good thing for it.
Can we just call them Megalutions from now on?
It makes sense.
What was that one thing, Guild Decree?
Yeah.
It's official. It's a Guild Decree. I'm calling it right now.
Damn, right there, Megalution.
Guild
Megalutions.
Decree. From now on, they're Megalutions. I remember when they showed Mewtwo's new Megalutions and a bunch of things, and, like, they didn't say what it was, and a bunch of people were like, oh, it's Mew 3! They're finally coming out with Mew 3! And it's like, nope, this is Mewtwo's Megalution. X and Y form.
I mean, at the very least, Mew 2.5. Come on. Something?
Also, when they showed Mega Charizard X, he was, like, black with blue flames, and I feel like that kind of took away some of the shiny Charizards being, you know, special. Because one of the things that made it special is, like, the shiny Charizard was a black Charizard, and his flames were blue. And so, like, they're like, oh, you have a regular Charizard, but, like, Mega Charizard X is black with blue flames. And it's like, well, you just made him shiny. Like, what about the people who have the shiny Charizard? Like, you just took away what made shiny Charizard special by giving it to every Charizard. I don't know, man. Obviously, Pokemon knows what they're doing more than I am. They're making a whole lot more money than I am. But that's not going to stop me from complaining about Pokemon.
That's fair.
As much as I love them. I love them, but they hurt me.
It kind of along the same lines of, like, different forms and everything like that. One thing that I wish that they would do that they will never, ever, ever do because they would have to pay some developers some major, major money is have some kind of, like, even if it was just like I know we have shinies, right? We have shinies. Why can't we have, like, I don't know, 5 different I'm saying this out loud and it's like, all right, there's like 3,000 Pokemon right now, and I want 5 different versions of each Pokemon just for some kind of visual difference.
The thing is, that wouldn't be hard for them to do. They wouldn't have no. Okay, first of all, there are Pokemon that are already like that. Spinda, for example. You can go through the game and catch 100 Spinda, and every single one of them will have a different pattern. Like, Spinda's dot patterns are unique to that Spinda.
Okay.
So they're already doing that for certain Pokemon. 2, a shiny Pokemon is just a color palette swap. Like,
right, but I mean,
could
like,
do that for 4 more color palette swaps.
Yeah. Well, I just kind of want them to be a little more common too. That, like, you know, I get it. Make your shinies. Make them, like, you know, the green and yellow Pikachu. That is, like, the rarest of rares. They call them shinies. Whatever. Go after that one. It's fun. But maybe I want a Pikachu with a little black tip on its tail.
Mm-hmm. And they are, once again, Pikachu's another good example. Male Pikachus have a rectangular tail. Female Pikachus have a heart on the end of their tail.
Oh yeah, they do, don't they?
Mm-hmm. Like, what you're asking for, they already do, but they do with such a small amount of Pokemon. It would be way cooler if they did it with more Pokemon. They're kind of doing it with the different regional variants, which regional variants, I think, is one of the coolest things Pokemon has ever done. Some people complain about it, and they complain about the fact that most regional variants are only first-generation Pokemon. I don't care. I love regional variants, where you have... it all started with the Alolan ones. So you had, like, Alolan Executor, Alolan Marowak, Alolan Raichu. And I think it makes sense. Because, like, in the real world, if you have an animal that's the same species, and they live in different regions of the world... they often evolve differently and they look different depending on where it's from. Like a European swallow and an African swallow are almost two different animals.
Carry two different weights completely.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Depending on the distance. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I can't remember which game it is. I think it might be Koromon, where they do something where they offer at least 3 different variants for every monster in the game, and each one's a different grade. So you have like the good grade, which is like normal, and then you have like the great grade, which is a little bit harder of a shinier version to catch, and then you have perfect grade, which is like the hardest of variants to catch.
Yeah, it wouldn't be hard for them to do. I mean, like even in Legends Arceus, every Pokemon has its standard form, its shiny form, and its alpha form. So I think they're already kind of doing what you're asking for. It wouldn't be that hard for them to just pop just a little bit of extra and make it so your Mr. Mime is different from all your friends' Mr. Mime. Like, it wouldn't have to be that hard.
No. Well, you know what? Even if they just... You know what? Let's just say... And you're probably going to say, hey, Baron, they've done this. But let's just say... you catch them and they all look identical. Scientifically improbable, yes. But what if you were able to get these Pokemon, take them to the local Pokemon groomer, and then just change up how they look?
Yeah. Once again, they did it like you said. You said I was going to say it.
You better say it exactly how I said it.
So, in Pokemon Let's Go Eevee and Let's Go Pikachu, you could do that with Eevee and Pikachu. But you can't do it with any other Pokemon.
Gotcha.
So once again, they've already shown they can do it. There's even a barber in Legends Arceus, but like it's only for you. It's not for your Pokemon.
Yeah.
Like,
how cool would Pikachu be in like a little baseball jacket?
Can't you do that in Let's Go?
Let's Go
Can't
Pikachu.
You put them in little outfits.
Mm-hmm. You can put them in little outfits. You can get them different haircuts. You can put little stickers on him. Yeah. That's what Let's Go Pikachu and Let's Go Eevee were all about. They were like celebrations of those particular Pokemon. But you could only do it with that Pokemon. But
I want to get 3 Haunters and put them in a trench coat, okay? That's all I'm wanting.
The fact that they've already shown they could do it with the one Pokemon, there's no reason they couldn't do it with all of them. And like it would take some time, but it wouldn't take a lot of money. And even if it did take a whole lot of money, and as we all know, if you pay enough people, something that takes a lot of time, all of a sudden doesn't take a lot of time. And Pokemon's got the money. Like, they can literally throw money at it, and it would be good to go. Yeah, I don't think what you're asking for is something that would be difficult. I don't think it would cost them a tremendous amount of money. And they could do it, and that would be very cool.
Yeah. And they've already proven that they're just going to keep the essential gameplay the same.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. Customization. I think customization is where it's at. At least that's where it was in the 90s. I'm not sure if it is now. We're gonna pretend it is.
Generation 3 was where they introduced Pokemon contests, right? And the whole point of Pokemon contests was showing that your Pokemon was better than the other Pokemon. Like, it was cooler, or it was prettier, and then, like, that's also, I think, when they introduced, like, the Pokemon Natures and things like that. And how much cooler would it be if you could go and customize your Pokemon before a Pokemon contest? How much cooler would it be if your Pokemon looked a little different based on its nature? If you've already got 10 different natures that this Pokemon could be, obviously it's not that many. I mean, like, there's like 10 different natures, like, overall or something like that. But like each Pokemon could only be like one of like 3 or 4 natures. Just make it look a little different based on its nature. Like, if you've got a shy one, if you've got a timid one, if you've got a adventurous one, if you've got a loud one, you know, they should look a little different.
Yeah.
I mean, they've shown that they can do it in the anime. I mean, Ash's Squirtle wore sunglasses.
Yep.
And it made him look a little bit cooler than all the other Squirtles.
And when they met Richie's Pikachu, well, actually all of Richie's Pokemon, like, Richie had all the same Pokemon that Ash did, and all of his Pokemon looked a little different from Ash's.
Yeah. You know, you're talking about Pokemon having all this money, right?
Mm-hmm. They have a crazy amount of money.
Crazy, stupid amount of money. What do you guys think it would take for them to go and say, all right, what if we did a legitimate Pokemon MMO?
I don't see how it would be that hard of a thing for them to do.
They just don't want to do it. Like,
right.
the creators of Pokemon, the thing is, the same, like, for lack of a better term, the same old guys who were in charge when Pokemon became a thing are still in charge now. And they've already said that they just don't want to do it. They have no desire to take Pokemon in that direction. So, as morbid as it sounds, in order for Pokemon to have an MMO, those guys need to die, first of all. Because, like, they're going to be in their positions all the way until they die. That's just their culture. They're not going to retire. They will be doing Pokemon till the day that they die.
Yeah.
So those guys need to die, first of all. And second of all, there needs to be another MMO that's crazy successful. Because even the MMOs that have been crazy successful, they've taken a dive. And, like, they've hit hard. Like, most successful MMO of all time's got to be World of Warcraft, right? But how many people do you know who are still playing World of Warcraft? Whereas now, Pokemon, how many people are still playing Pokemon? It's just...
Now, to that, though, look at how popular Final Fantasy 14 is. It's skyrocketed. They got to one point where they had to stop selling it.
Well, Final Fantasy skyrocketed in popularity because they made it free. And Pokemon's not interested in doing that. So you'd have to have one that got crazy popular and stayed crazy popular, even though they were still charging full price for it 10 years later. Because Pokemon games are still charging full price 10, 15, 20 years later, and people are still buying them. And
well, now,
that kind of staying power...
free to a certain extent, right? Like, you get, like, what's a level 40 or 50?
Which is
and
huge.
Then you have to start
paying. That's an entire game. I mean, like, you get the entire base game and the entire first expansion, and you can play through them both entirely free. Which is huge. Pokemon, once again, they're not interested in doing that. They want to make money. Which, I mean, I get it. You're a company. You got to make money at the end of the day. But that's... Because Final Fantasy 14 failed hard twice.
Oh, yeah.
And... like, the first time, they had to, like, cancel the game entirely and reboot it with, like, an entirely new story and entirely new mechanics. And they're like, no, this is still Final Fantasy XIV, totally. And it wasn't. It was, like, an entirely different game.
Right.
And, like, the second time, like, it was just like most MMOs that had been out for too long, and it was just starting to lull. And then they were like, let's get a whole bunch of new people in here. First game and first expansion entirely free. And... then it revitalized it. And the question is, how much longer is that going to last? Because I'm sure you had plenty of people who played it as much as they could until it was free, and then maybe started a new character and started over. But each one of those things is something where you're going to lose a lot of people. You have some people who are going to try it because it's free. They're going to try it, and then they're going to let it go. Then you have people who are going to play it all the way up until the first game, and then let it go. People are going to play all the way up to the first expansion and let it go. People who are going to make a second character, then let it go. Like, the people who are actually going to stick around and pay the money for the newer expansions and the higher levels is such a small percentage. And Pokemon will never be the series that tries to do something first at this point, because they don't have to. They don't have to innovate in order to make money.
Like Apple.
Right.
No, that's the perfect fucking That's the perfect fucking example right there.
So yeah, those two things would have it happen. The guys who are in charge would have to die because like they're just not interested in doing MMO. They just don't want to.
I want you to know that this is like the 8th time that you are saying that these people have to die.
And second, there has to be another MMO that comes out that is similar to Pokemon in some way, shape, or form, and it has to do gangbusters. Like, it has to show that it's successful and that it has staying power. And then Pokemon might go, yeah, sure, let's do one.
So what if, like, they did a Pokemon MMO, and it started out and you got Kanto for free, like the very first region for free. And then the expansions were, each one of the new maps. So, like, you go to Johto, that would be the next expansion that you would have to buy. And then to go and fight the next gym leader, you had to buy, on the next map, you'd have to buy that expansion, so forth, where they work their way through the generations.
I think that would be fantastic. I'd probably try it. I think they'd make a ton of money. I don't think they'll ever do it. Because that first hit free is something Pokemon that will never do. As a matter of fact, Pokemon won't give you the first game free. They'll make you pay for the first game twice. That's what Pokemon's all about. Since the very beginning. They're like, oh, well, here's red and green, or depending if you were in the US, here's red and blue. If you want to catch all the Pokemon, you got to buy this game twice.
Yeah.
And that's the other thing about doing an MMO, right? Like, you can't sell two versions of an MMO. You can't make it so certain Pokemon become exclusive to certain versions of an MMO. So you can't sell the same game twice to the same kid. I mean, MMOs just don't fit Pokemon's model of how they've made money so far. And Pokemon is going to continue to do what makes them money.
True.
And see, that's the crazy part about it, because the way that they show the Pokemon experience is it's all about going out with your friends.
Mm-hmm.
Like going on these big, crazy, like even in anime, it's all about going out on these adventures with your friends.
Mm-hmm. And if you listen to the original creators, that's what they say Pokemon is all about. And that's why they say they sell two versions, because now you have to go out with your friends and trade with your friends. And that's another reason they say that they'll never do an MMO, because you can just interact with strangers on the internet in an MMO. Whereas if you've got the console games and you have to trade between console games, now you have to leave your house and talk to your friends in person and trade.
Right.
Which is one of the arguments they always put forward when people ask them, why won't you do an MMO? And they're like, because we don't want Pokemon fans inside their house for hours at a time, not interacting with other people. Which I think is how they were able to sell the creators on Pokemon Go. Because Pokemon Go, I think, is as close as we'll ever get to a Pokemon MMO. But Pokemon Go required that you leave your house and go play Pokemon with other people. And a bunch of the features that got added during the crisis to make it so you didn't have to leave your house, people loved that. They were like, these are great features for Pokemon Go, and now they're trying to remove them from Pokemon Go, and there's an outcry from the players of Pokemon Go saying, don't remove these features. They made the game so much better, but they want to remove it now that the crisis is winding down, or more or less over. They want to remove a bunch of those features, forcing people to go out and interact with other people again, instead of being able to do it over the internet with their friends who live far away. And that just shows you the attitude of Pokemon, right? They did something that made their game better because of the circumstances, but now that it doesn't have to be that way anymore, they want to take away those features because they want to make it the way they want to make it, not the way that the fans want it. And that's Pokemon in a nutshell.
Yeah, I hate to say it, but that's pretty much what it comes down to, is money.
Because if you can trade with your friend 3 states away, you don't have to buy whatever else in order to get somebody else to give you what you want who's local.
Yep.
The restrictions are what make them profitable. Well, they'd be profitable either way. What makes them crazy profitable.
Right.
I mean, I feel like we spent the last like hour just like crapping on Pokemon.
No, but it's. But again, I would like to go ahead and do the test. Rick,
Yeah,
did you just spend the last hour crapping on Pokemon?
I did. I really did.
Rick,
Yeah.
are you going to buy the next game when it comes out?
Yeah, I want a little piggy. Did you see Lechonk, the new Pokemon that they announced for? I want a piggy Pokemon.
So yeah, I mean, yeah, and you're completely allowed to enjoy it too. I mean, yes, I sat here listening to us kind of trashing on Pokemon a lot, but we should be able to do that.
Yeah.
Anybody that likes something should be able to point out all the critical things about it and still enjoy it. We're not out here trash talking Pokemon because we want you to not enjoy it. We want you to go out and enjoy this. Don't take this as that's what this is. Don't get mad at us because we are looking at something critically.
Right.
We are allowed to realize the faults of something and then go and engorge ourselves on the goodness that it is.
Yeah. I mean, I'm probably pretty soon getting a Pokemon tattoo. Like, if I didn't like it, like, if I thought it was really that bad, like, I wouldn't be committing it to my skin forever.
Right.
I mean, here's the thing: is for all the faults that Pokemon has, it has released incredible products over the years. Don't get me wrong, but those products have been tied to some of the biggest memories of my life.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I remember when I was a kid, and on Saturday mornings, like my mom taking me to a local bookstore, and them having trading card game battles, and having this little badge book where whenever you beat somebody, you got a stamp. And I felt like I was a fucking winner when I got that damn badge at the end of the day. I mean, it was like, I don't know if you remember or not, it was like a legit enamel pin.
Oh yeah, they had the Pokemon League. I had a lanyard that I used to wear, and I had the badges all down my lanyard as I earned them.
And so, like, those, like I said, for all the faults that, Pokemon as a company may have, I mean, it's been tied to some of the best memories of my life.
Yeah, absolutely. A lot of my memories are tied to being high at the time, but yeah.
Yeah. just slightly different age range than me and Alex.
Right. Yeah.
But when you're talking about childhoods, like just like a age range of like you could be 3 or 4 years older, and it puts you in an entirely different age range.
Right. Yeah, that's true. Well, especially back then.
Yeah.
I could have been a 5-year age difference, but that 5-year age difference is that's between me being graduated and you still in middle school.
Yep.
So yeah, it's not so much a big deal now, but
yeah. Because I definitely was in middle school when the Pokemon trading card game was like a huge deal. And used to like trade cards in school, and like after school on Wednesdays we'd go down to Collector's World in Toledo, Ohio, and play Pokemon tournaments, or be in the back of my parents' car driving somewhere late at night with an old Game Boy Pocket trying to catch the streetlights in order to catch Pokemon.
Yeah, I remember that.
It's kind of like how he asked you a minute ago, when the game comes out, are you going to buy it? Of course I'm going to buy it. Whenever, like when Pokken Tournament came out, going to fucking buy it. Whenever Pokemon Snap came out, I'm going to buy it.
I bought a special controller just for Pokken Tournament.
Like, whatever the offshoot game, like, one of my favorite Pokemon games is Pokemon Conquest for the DS.
Oh, yeah.
I absolutely loved that game. But yeah, I mean, I think what it comes down to is because there's so much nostalgia behind it, whenever they come out with a new game, like, I'm already, all right, here's my wallet. Like, the Futurama meme. Like, just take my money. Here you go.
Yep.
You take my money. Go ahead. I might as well just pre-order. I'm going to get the little combo pack. Comes with both versions. Might as well go ahead and do it and save myself, $10?
Mm-hmm. At the end of the day, it's doing plenty right. You know what I mean? Like, they've actually done scientific studies where I was saying part of my brain is literally dedicated to Pokemon. Like, that's not a joke. Like, they've done scientific studies that, like, people in our age range literally have a part of our brain that is dedicated to memorizing Pokemon names, and that is something that we'll never be able to do anything else with other than know those Pokemon names, which is nuts to me. And there are kids who are into Pokemon now who don't even recognize some of those original 150.
Right, exactly. Which is hilarious to me.
It's insane.
Mm-hmm.
And those old Pokemon cards, like Pokemon trading card games, still going. As a matter of fact, there are certain stores now that refuse to sell Pokemon cards because of how crazy people get about Pokemon cards after they made their resurgence.
Yeah, that was dumb. That whole resurgence that happened and why it happened.
Yeah.
Ugh.
But that's not just Pokemon. That's Nintendo. Like, whenever Nintendo makes something, like the idea behind it is nice because like they miss the supply and demand line, right? It's not that they're not making enough, it's that they make enough but they like lower it to where people will buy more of it than they lower the price to where people will buy more of it than what the supply is.
Well, okay, but correct me if I'm wrong though, but isn't like the most recent huge card resurgence, wasn't that because one of those Paul guys did like a unboxing or something online?
I mean, yes and no. I mean that definitely contributed to it, right? But like it's all the same for all Nintendo products. The same thing happened with Amiibo. The same thing happened with like special Legend of Zelda Edition DSs. But basically, Nintendo sells stuff for way cheaper than they could sell it for because they want kids to be able to buy these things with their pocket money. Like Amiibos could sell easily for $30 a pop, but Nintendo sells them for $10 to $11 a pop because they want kids to be able to buy them with their pocket money. But then scalpers go out and they buy like 100 of them because they're cheap and then resell them for $200 because they've created the scarcity. So if you actually want to buy these things for $10 or $11, you have to either wait for Nintendo to keep making them until there's no longer a false scarcity, or you got to pay whatever the scalpers are asking for it. And that is also what happened with Pokemon cards, is the scalpers went out and they buy up everything to create the false scarcity, and then the kids who saw the Paul brothers open some Pokemon cards and they're like, I want Pokemon cards too. Now the scalpers have bought them all up, so now if they want Pokemon cards, mom and dad got to shill out a crazy amount of money to the scalpers if they want to get the Pokemon cards. Nintendo products is one of the worst things when it comes to scalpers. It's like a guaranteed payday for them. So if Nintendo was going to release something, like the scalpers are always right on top of it.
That's fair.
And Pokemon cards are no exception. They were an exception for a while. It's because they weren't popular there for a little while. But then they did resurge in popularity, which might have had something to do with the Paul brothers. I'm not sure. But the reason they're so hard to get and the reason that people went crazy in stores was because of scalpers. Because you had people where basically their entire source of income, their entire quote-unquote job, was driving from store to store and buying up the entire stock of Pokemon cards.
Right.
Which sucks, but there's nothing we can do about it.
True.
There's nothing we can do about as individual consumers as scalpers unless we all decide just at one point in time that we're just not going to buy anything from scalpers and we make them lose a bunch of money. But if you want that thing that the scalper has, you don't really have that option.
I feel like that's gotten really bad with Funkos recently too.
Funkos is getting worse, but like one of the good things about Funkos is Funko is really good about announcing what's coming out and when it's coming out. And they will announce release dates for Funkos before manufacture dates. Like before they manufacture them. And then people who really want them can go pre-order them at whatever retailer they choose at the retail price. So if you really want a particular Funko, you don't have to wait until release date. You don't have to wait for scalpers to get a chance to get a hold of them. I mean, scalpers can go pre-order 1,000 of them. It doesn't matter. You can still go pre-order one at retail price, and Funko will manufacture however many of them got pre-ordered, and then some. And so, which is, I think, this is how a company beats scalpers. Like, if you look at Funko and you look at that particular model, that is how a company can beat scalpers. Because no matter how many they pre-order, Funkos do not pre-order out. a particular retailer might pre-order out. Like GameStop might be like, oh, we're only going to order 500 of these, and once they reach 500 pre-orders, they'll be like, nope, can't pre-order that anymore. But you can go pre-order it somewhere else, like Amazon or whatever. Like Amazon, for example, does not pre-order out of Funkos. However many pre-orders there are, that's how many they order from Funko. That's how many Funko manufactures. So that's a good way to beat a scalper. But like that takes the company doing that, not the consumer. And Nintendo will never do that. Like,
No.
like if they do pre-orders, the only thing they're guaranteeing is that scalpers are going to go on and like refresh the page until pre-orders are available, and they're going to pre-order as many as they're allowed to pre-order, and they're going to get them before they even hit store shelves, let alone buy them up when they hit store shelves.
I remember that happening with the Monster Hunter Rise amiibos.
Mm-hmm.
Like those, the second they went live, those things sold out on GameStop.
Mm-hmm. Amiibos crashed GameStop's servers and website multiple times. Like every time GameStop thought they were ready for a new Amiibo to come out, they're like, yeah, we've redone our servers, we've redone our website, we're ready for it this time. Amiibo pre-orders are going to go live at 8 a.m. on this day. 8:05 that day, like their website would be down. Like they just were not able to handle the traffic.
Truth.
It's nuts.
Yeah, it's frustrating. I mean, and you know, and it's frustrating for me too. I've actually had times where when I was running a shop, I've had people try to come in and just, let's just say, use Magic for example.
Mm-hmm.
They tried to come up and buy literally all of my Magic up.
Mm-hmm.
I'd let them buy a couple boxes.
Yep.
And then when they try to get more, I'd be like, no, because I want other people to get a chance to buy stuff. But yeah, I could make money off of you right now, but if I make my people happy, yeah, I don't know. I don't get the whole attitude of people just like, oh, you want to buy all 500 boxes? Here you go.
Well, like I think most friendly local game stores have an attitude similar to you. They usually have like limits, like you can only purchase this many. The problem comes in, one, it becomes hard to enforce limits for the actual scalpers who are actually like it comes to the point where you're just limiting your loyal customers and not actually limiting the scalpers, because the scalper will go in and buy your limit, then they'll send their wife in who buy their limit, then they'll send their kid in who will buy the limit, and they don't all come in together. They're very smart about it. They will pay people to go in. They're like, hey, I'll give you $20 on top of the money it will take to go in and buy the limit. Go in and buy the limit.
Look, Rick, I suppose you're right.
And then on top of that, most of these like big retailers, Walmart, like they don't care as long as they sell the product. You know what I mean? Like Walmart, Target, like all these people. So you have the local game stores who want to do the limits, but once you have the limit, it becomes difficult to enforce the limit, and you end up actually not limiting the scalpers, just limiting your loyal customers.
Right.
And then you have the big boxes where like they don't care. Like I said, it's one of those things where as consumers, there's nothing we can do about scalpers. It has to come from the manufacturer. It has to come from the people who are putting these products out. They're the only people who can stop the scalpers, and limits is not the way to do it, because that's the one thing Nintendo does. Like if you're getting it directly from Nintendo or from a Nintendo retailer, they'll do limits, but it's free to create an email. So the scalper will just create 50 emails, buy the limit on each email, and
look, Rick, I suppose you're right.
so they just need to make things pre-orderable before they manufacture them, and then base their manufacturer off of the pre-orders.
Yeah,
that's the way to stop scalpers.
Still makes it booty.
Yes. Scalpers suck.
Scalpers suck.
And Pokemon scalpers are some of the worst.
Oh, absolutely.
Because literally, like, I compared it to other Nintendo products, but, like, Walmart still sells other Nintendo products. You know what I mean? You can still go buy an Amiibo at Walmart. Pokemon scalpers got so bad. Like, they were literally fighting people in the aisles for cards and, like, getting banned from stores to the point where certain stores didn't even want to sell Pokemon cards anymore.
So crazy.
And no other... I can't think of another collectible product that got scalped that bad.
Right. Yeah, no,
Yeah,
that was
because
definitely the worst.
Magic the Gathering's still on the shelves. Yu-Gi-Oh's still on the shelves. You can walk in and buy those any day you want.
Yep.
Baseball cards, football cards, all that stuff's still on the shelves.
And a lot of those do have limits, but, like, you don't have, like, scalpers coming in and trying to scam those limits and, like, literally fighting people to buy a box of those cards.
Right. Quite right.
If the Paul brothers do an unboxing,
Yeah,
You
that's
better
true.
wait for it. The magic card's gonna be gone.
They would do something dumb like Imagination or something like that.
Yeah, Club Penguin.
Easy.
This just goes to show you how crazy people are for Pokemon. Because like, if people weren't paying these scalpers these aftermarket prices, they wouldn't be doing it. So, Pokemon is just that freaking huge. People love Pokemon. I'm one of those people.
You know, if the Paul brothers are listening to the podcast, I know you're not because you would have quit listening by now. Could you like do an unboxing for like WWE's Raw Deal or something like that? I really want that game to make a comeback. That'd be great. Okay, I'm done.
We should do an unboxing of the box that you have for our YouTube channel.
Oh, the box of
the starter
Raw Deal?
decks.
Oh yeah, I mean they're just starter decks.
Yeah. But even so, like you've got how many different types of decks are in that box?
Like 5.
So we could open one of each deck and look through them.
That's true.
And
Yeah, I mean, because yeah, I mean, I guess if you think about it, no one really knows about it anymore.
right.
That was back in like 2000,
Mhm.
22 years ago.
Jesus. And that'll be it. I'm gonna go dig my own grave now.
Right. Mine's already done. I'm just falling over dead on the floor.
I'm gonna go cash my social security check. I'll be right back.
That's awesome. Yeah, 22 years ago, I was actually running a game store. I didn't own it yet, but I was running a game store.
Mm-hmm.
Oh me, oh my.
Selling Pokemon cards.
Well, he didn't want to sell Pokemon.
Oh,
he
okay.
didn't. He had a certain clientele that he wanted to,
Cater to.
yeah, it was more adult. Which,
Sure.
I don't blame you.
Yeah.
It definitely would have brought in a lot of kids. It definitely would have brought in a lot of money, but it definitely would have brought in a lot of kids.
Yeah. Yeah, because in order to sell those, you got to give them a place to play, and you got to hold tournaments, and
Yeah.
just like Magic does with FNM.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of which, my local game store. Well, I don't know if it's my local game store. There's no game stores in the county that I live in, but the next county over, they're doing pretty well, and they're selling Pokemon cards, and they do Pokemon tournaments. They're actually having their own convention in November, which I think is crazy. Like, for a friendly local game store in the middle of nowhere to be doing so well that they can actually throw a convention.
Mm-hmm.
And that's like a year after being opened. That's crazy to me.
Yeah, it's a really
That's a
big
rough
deal.
business.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. It is not. It is not friendly. It's very cutthroat, actually, and the people cutting your throat have bigger swords. So
That's why I always thought that, like, these middle of nowhere towns, like, I always thought if you were gonna have a successful game store, like, this is one of the places to do it, because people are just looking for something to do. Mm-hmm. And like, if you give them a place to play D&D or play a card game, especially this day and age, like, you wouldn't think middle of nowhere Tennessee is the place to go play Magic or Dungeons and Dragons, because 10 or 20 years ago it definitely wasn't. That's not what the teenagers in middle Tennessee wanted to do. But nowadays, with how big the internet is, and like geek culture in general just kind of permeating everything, these kids are ready to play Pokemon. These kids are ready to play Magic. And if you give them a place to do it, and I think people are more socially conscious in a way that they realize if they don't support this store, that it's going to go away, and their place to play Magic is going to go away. And like, they're willing to pour a little bit more money into it in order to keep their place to play.
There's a big problem with that, because yes, that is absolutely the way to think about it. But the problem is in these small towns, they are slowly dying. There's no money being pumped into them. All the money is being pumped out. Everybody that lives in small towns goes to big cities to spend their money. And you know what's funny is, like, there's a whole movie, and I think it's called The Last Cinema or The Last Theater something. I don't know. I can't remember what it was. I watched it. But it was about small towns like that just didn't have any money, and everybody was working out of town. Everybody was spending their money out of town. They lived there, but all the businesses were drying up and dying. I can't tell you how many empty storefronts we have in my little town.
Yep.
So yeah,
that's true.
So it is real easy to think, hey, these people want something to do. Probably true, but
Yeah.
But I'm glad that they are doing amazingly. So
Well, I think it's a unique situation where, like, it gets more and more, it gets more and more difficult. Like, we're reaching a precipice where it's getting more and more difficult to do things out of town and spend your money out of town if you were, 30 years ago, those people who were spending their money out of town. Because that dries up more and more the further you get away from the cities. For example, if you've got a really small town, so you've got the middle of nowhere town, the small town, the suburb, and then the city. So, like, the middle of nowhere town was going to the small town, but now middle of nowhere has dried up. Now everybody who's in the small town is going to the suburb, and now small town dries up. Now everybody in the suburbs going to the city. Now people who live in the middle of nowhere town have to drive an hour or more in order to get to the city. Now you give them something to do in their little town that they don't have to drive an hour or more. That's a little different than when the thing to do was 15, 20 minutes away or 30 minutes away.
Your equation only takes into account things to do. I'm saying the people that live in these little towns don't have any money.
Yeah. No. Yeah, I mean, you're right. You're right.
So, yeah. They are begging for stuff to do.
Mm-hmm.
Free stuff to do. Which I can't fucking blame them. Everything's so expensive nowadays. How are we getting into a social commentary here? It's not what we're going, but
it's what we do.
It's what we do. Yeah. So yeah, yeah. There's a lot that I could say, having firsthand experienced it.
Oh yeah,
and
I'm no doubt.
And it's rough. I did everything I could to hand out discounts when I could and help people out when I could, but
yeah,
it still just stopped coming in. So
yep. Like I said, it's a rough business. I mean, like, you have to hit, like, the perfect location with, like, the perfect clientele with, like, the perfect time. Like, it's one of those things where you have to get this perfect storm to have a successful game store.
Yep.
To where anybody would have to be nuts to start that business.
Yes.
But that's what we are, right? I mean, like, as geeks, we're crazy for we're passionate about these things, which is just another way to say we're crazy about them. So, yeah, of course we want to take the long shot.
That's what it was. And we'll keep going for it.
So, just to tie it back into Pokemon, as much as I've crapped on Pokemon for the entire length of this podcast,
we can keep going.
I will keep holding out hope that they're going to come out with a great Pokemon game that doesn't have all these flaws, and I'll keep buying it, and I'll keep taking the long shot that maybe this Pokemon game will be different. Maybe this will be the one where they listened to the fans and didn't just make another cash grab with 100 new Pokemon. Because Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, there's a lot of different here. They got 2 professors now, 4-player co-op. I mean, it looks different. Hopefully this will be the one. The graphics still don't look great, but hey, it's not released yet. Maybe they'll change something.
And they showed us they can do different with Legends.
They did.
They showed us they can do it.
They can. Let's just they've done that before, right? They've come out with, like, good Pokemon games, like when Pokemon Stadium first came out, and they've done that before where they come out with this awesome game and it's like, yes, do this in your mainline games, and then they don't, and it's like, well, damn it. But hopefully this will be the time. Maybe we've been complaining about it long enough that, like, they'll finally listen. You ready to throw a bow on this one, Baron?
Sure. So, despite what Pokemon has been giving you, we really hope that the podcast has at least mixed things up and made things a little more interesting. And also, we hope that we can keep going on with these episodes as long as Pokemon does. Because as long as they keep pumping out new products, we're going to be right there playing them and telling you all about them, even though you already know what they're all about. God, I don't know. Man, I'm even using my bow time to shit on Pokemon. Go out and get the new game!
Thank you again, Alex, for coming on the podcast. If people like what you had to say and they want to find you somewhere else on the internet, is there a place where they can do that?
pretty much it's just the Alan Wayne, all one word. That's Twitch, that's Twitter, all the good things. You can find me there. Discord, all that.
Awesome.
Easy to find.
So thanks again for tuning in to this episode of the Casters Guild. Please email us at castersguild@gmail.com. Let us know what you think about the new Pokemon game coming out, and tell us what you don't like about the old Pokemon games. You can find us on all the socials. Make sure you check that link below I was talking about earlier for T-Villain. It really is the best way to support Casters Guild if you like what we do. Thank you very much, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye, everybody. Bye. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Go catch some Pokemons.
All of them.